Hey, everybody, it's Rebecca Johnson of Supergirl Radio. We are going to get started here in a little bit officially. So, we will be talking about the Continental from the World of John Wick, which is a Peacock original TV series on the Peacock streaming platform, if you have that. And the reason that we're doing this, we will explain, is because Katie McGrath is in it, who played Lena Luthor on Supergirl, although being in it is generous for Katie McGrath in this first episode, but she is in it, as we will discuss. Morgan, I see you down there. Are you ready to go? Give me a thumbs up if you are. Yes. Okay, good. All right. So I know I sent the doc late, so hopefully you have that as well. And
no worries.
Yes. Okay. Well, are we ready to go to talk about the world of John Wick?
I think we're ready to enter the world of John Wick.
Okay, well, let's get started.
McGurk! I love typing.
Not mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom. Because
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Yes! Welcome to Supergirl Radio, your source for all things related to the CW Supergirl TV series and the character of Kara Zor-El. My name is Rebecca Johnson.
I'm Morgan Glennon.
And we are live and wired on the DC TV Podcast YouTube channel and the Supergirl Radio Facebook page to catch up on what Katie McGrath has been up to since the Supergirl TV series ended. So we are going to do that by talking about a Peacock original series in a format we call Pilot Pod, kind of something we stole from the Legendary Ladies podcast, but we do it here on Supergirl Radio as well. And what a Pilot Pod is we watch the pilot of a TV series and we talk about it. So we're going to be doing that with a Peacock original series titled The Continental from the World of John Wick. And I guess before we get into the actual episode, Morgan, I'm curious, what is your history with the world of John Wick?
That is a great question. I'm glad you asked. My history is that somebody told me the premise of the first John Wick movie. They were like, Keanu Reeves. I was like, great, I'm in. They're like, hold on. He gets a puppy. I was like, great, I'm in. I love that. I love that for him. And they're like, hold on for a second. They're like, and then his wife dies. I was like, I don't love that for him. And then they're like, and then his puppy is murdered. And I was like, tell me no more of this film. It is dead to me. So despite the fact that I've actually heard that the John Wick movies are like really fun, I've actually never seen them. And so when we talked about a couple months ago, we talked about watching the Continental for our girl Katie McGrath. And I was like, yeah, what I'm going to do to prepare for this, to do my homework, is I'm going to watch all the John Wick movies, and then I'm going to be able to dive into the world of John Wick. This is what I thought and what I hoped and what I dreamed for myself. But the truth is that I didn't watch a single John Wick movie. And then suddenly we were watching this and I was like, I don't have time. So I thought actually what it could be fun. I was like, okay, actually, my lack of homework is really a way to make this podcast more fun and dynamic, right? Because I was like, now what we'll do is we'll come at it as somebody who's seen the movies and somebody who hasn't seen the movies. And we'll see if it works for both levels.
Yeah. So we'll see if the pilot actually did a good job of setting up the world of John Wick.
World of John Wick. See, I did it for the podcast.
Yes.
I denied myself the many John Wick movies because of wanting to give it a different flavor for this podcast.
I really appreciate your commitment to the podcast and your dedication to your homework for yourself.
My lack of homework, as it were.
Well, your homework was no homework.
Exactly. And I did great.
You did great at it. I actually, for this podcast, I binged all 3 of the John Wick movies that are available on Peacock. I thought maybe John Wick 4 was available, but I think it came out March of 2023, and I don't know where to watch it. There is a chapter 4, and I didn't see it on Peacock, so the only one
it did just come out. It came out sometime this year.
The only one I'm lacking is John Wick Chapter 4, which seems like, according to the descriptions I've read, really, really up in the ante in the John Wick universe. So,
how does it get any bigger? I hope that the John Wick movies, like the Fast and Furious movies, just begin to leave the planet Earth. Like, the more movies you get in, the more they are just gods among men.
Well, that's kind of already happened in some
Sweet.
So I guess I can give you like a how should I say, a blanket overview, a really a real how should I say this? Kind of not a history lesson, but kind of a little
summary.
Bit. Yeah. A summary, yes. Okay.
Give us the cliff notes of the world of John Wick.
That is a good way to put that. Thank you, Erin. I was trying to think of a word of how to say a short synopsis, but also tell you things. That was very difficult. So the cliff notes, perfect. So John Wick is a man who was a hitman assassin, if you will, and he wanted out of that life of crime. So he had to do what is called like a marker. So you do this kind of blood oath with someone else. So you put cut your thumb and you put your thumbprint on this thing, and the other person puts their thumbprint on the thing, and then so this other person helped him get out of this life of being a hitman, and he lives 5 blissful years with this woman, his wife, and then she dies of cancer, and it's very sad.
Aww.
So upon her death, a puppy gets delivered to his house, and his wife writes him this lovely letter about, John, even after I'm gone, please still love something else. And so he's supposed to love this puppy.
Oh, no.
And everybody and it is actually really gruesome. If you don't want to doesthedogdie.com kind of situation, it is gruesome. They not only murder the puppy, they put the dead puppy, like John Wick is lying on the floor, and they put it so that the puppy and John Wick are looking at each other. It is rough. It is gruesome.
See, I've known for many, many years. I've known since the first movie came out, and I read just a boilerplate description that I could not handle that part of the movie. And every time Mike tries to get me to watch John Wick, he always does it by saying, "We'll skip the first 10 minutes." The premise, it's fine. We'll just go straight into the killing.
In a redemptive measure of the John Wick dog situation, John Wick does get another dog. Spoiler alert.
Awesome.
And the dog is great. He lives through at least chapter 3. To my
knowledge. Good.
I don't know what happens in the 4th one, but he's living through John Wick 3.
You get one traumatic dog death in a movie series. If you're just constantly killing the dog, don't put a dog in there.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you people?
And then I should say, this is also kind of a small spoiler, but Halle Berry shows up in John Wick 3.
Halle Berry?
And she's got dogs. and they're awesome. They're actually killer dogs. So they're
my God.
They're rubbing people up. So Halle Berry's assassin dogs are awesome. So there's a lot of dogs in the John Wick's universe, and in the Continental, we see a dog pooping on the street. So I think that was an homage.
There you go
to all of the dogs in the world of John Wick.
There's a dog in the show.
Very loosely hinted at the dogs of the world of John Wick, but I guess to also further explain, because I'm curious, if some of this translated for you, because in the world of John Wick, everyone is an assassin. Everyone is a hitman. It is like Leviathan. It's like a Leviathan. We are
everywhere.
Everyone. Yes, everyone. Your butcher could be a hitman. Your hairdresser could be a hitman.
What about your baker and your candlestick maker?
Your baker and your candlestick maker, all hitmen. So no matter where you go, it could be the homeless guy on the street. It could be that sumo wrestler giant man walking past you in the neighborhood. He's
really
also
hope
a hitman who wants to kill you.
I hope that the sumo wrestler thing is like is that from a movie? Please say
I feel like that's John Wick 3.
Oh my God.
Yes. There's like this giant man who looks like he was probably a sumo wrestler. In John Wick 3, a hit goes out on John Wick from around the globe. So everyone around the world is trying to kill John Wick. So that's real fun. So anyway, I guess to sum it up, hitmen everywhere. And nobody seems to care. A lot of people die out in public. No consequences happen to these people. So a lot of people die. Keanu Reeves going around killing everybody. He's not a real great shot, though. It takes him a long time to do this.
Lots of pew-pews.
Lots of pew-pews. Lots of hitting, knife, stabby stuff. Real gruesome stuff. But he does go around killing lots of people. Which I will say about the world of John Wick is that the films are beautiful. The coloring of them, the cinematography is very good, and the action sequences also top notch because they are directed by a stuntman choreographer.
Whoa!
So that's why the stunts are very good. It's because it's directed by a guy who knows what he's talking about with stunts.
Makes sense.
John Wick movies are very entertaining. It's very difficult to keep up with who is who, which I found to also be the case in the TV show. But
I found that to be true as well. So I had the true movie experience.
You had the true movie experience. So I guess trying to set up a little bit of the world of John Wick. Killers are everywhere. Lots of people die. So Morgan, what was your experience watching this pilot? Did you feel like it did a good job of introducing the world and the characters for you?
That's a good question. I knew enough about John Wick that it was about, it was about assassins. I knew that. I knew that there was a lot of pew-pews. There's a lot of shooting. There's a lot of fighting. So I was sort of prepared for that. There was other stuff that I was confused about. And I think that the pilot, well, I wanted to say pilot, but it's like a movie. It's an hour and a half. It's a 90-minute episode 1, and it's a mini series, so there's only 3 episodes.
I think they're all that length,
and they're all so long. I was like, how long are the other episodes? Oh my God. When I saw the length of all, honestly, the funniest thing must have been, Rebecca, when I put on the episode yesterday and I saw how long it was, just the expletives that came out of my mouth. And I was like, 90 minutes? You gotta be kidding me. And for 90 minutes, I feel like I wish I would have liked to have known the characters a little bit better at the end of that runtime, or feel like I was a little bit more invested in the character aspect of the show. I also didn't understand why all the assassins lived in a hotel. I didn't understand why they were all so into the US Mint. I didn't we gotta make them coins. What? Why? What year is this? I didn't understand why the main brothers, why the Frankie stole that mint, and I didn't understand
the coin press.
Yeah, I didn't understand why it was so important, why he would go out on a limb to steal it. I feel like after 90 minutes, at least one of those 2 answers should have been answered. I don't need to know why it's the most important coin press of all time. Sure, right? Whatever. But it would be nice to know what his motivation was, him and his wife, whose name was Yen.
Yes.
Yen. I kept on wanting to say Yennefer.
No, that's The Witcher.
In The Witcher, I was like, is it short for Yennefer, a totally real name? No. Yeah, it would be nice to know why they they seem like they had like a sweet little situation going on there. Like, why did they put their lives in danger to steal this thing? Why was it so important? That, at least I feel like would have been great to know in episode 1, if episode 1 is going to be 90 minutes.
Okay, I guess before I answer some of those questions for you, or attempt to.
Perfect.
I did forget to read the description for this episode, which might catch everybody else.
Okay.
The description for this first episode of the Continental from the World of John Wick is titled Brothers in Arms, and this is the description. Quote, Winston Scott gets roped into a vast conspiracy triggered by his brother's raid on the Continental, unquote. So we get introduced to Winston Scott, who is the brother of Frankie Scott, who is the guy you mentioned who did steal the coin press and is the husband to Yen. So we've got some of those characters kind of lined up so far. So Winston is he's actually a character from the film franchise. He's a big deal from the films.
Okay.
In the films, he's a much older version. I shouldn't say much older. That sounds bad. He is an older version of Winston Scott, and he's actually a friend to John Wick. He is the manager of the hotel of the Continental. He's a pretty big deal within the John Wick universe, and so he actually dresses the same in this sort of prequel series of the Continental. And so there were elements of his character that I recognized from the film series. So I thought the actor who did the younger Winston, I think, did a pretty good job. Now, as far as I know, Frankie and Yen are new characters. They are not in the John Wick movies, although I watched them very quickly. So who knows? They may have been mentioned at some point.
They could have been in there. It was really funny watching what is like a prequel to a popular movie series, because there were definitely times when I felt like the show almost stopped to be like, yeah, and I was like, actually, I don't know. You can keep winking at me. I don't understand what the wink. It's so weird to know that there is a reference happening, but you do not understand what the reference is to. I know, by the way that this character is walking in, that I should recognize him and be like, oh, but instead I'm just like, okay, cool.
If you had watched the movies, you would have had that reaction to this character whose name is Sharon.
Yes, thank you. Okay, that was the character where I could tell that movie watchers were going to be like, "Oh my god, it's Sharon," and and I was just like, "I like that guy's glasses."
Yeah, so Sharon is also a younger version of himself from the movies when he appears in the Continental. He is kind of the concierge / right-hand man to the hotel manager. He in the film series, he works a lot with Winston Scott. So here in the TV show, he's sort of the assistant to a character named Cormac O'Connor, played by Mel Gibson. So he functions in the same position, but he's with he's under a different leader. And I found in the John Wick wiki that Sharon in Greek mythology serves as the ferryman into the underworld. So I thought that was interesting that his character would sort of reflect that in the film franchise as well as the TV show. He's sort of the guy that you come to when you go into the Continental. You go to the front desk and you see Sharon and he checks you in. So that is his function in the Continental. So I guess I could help maybe possibly explain the Continental.
I did have one other question. Was KD supposed to be is that a character from the movies? Because that was another one that felt like they were like, get it? Because that's what it's short for. And I was like, cool.
So KD, to my knowledge, is not in the film franchise. Okay. She is I believe, a new character. Let's see. Yeah. So she has only appeared in the Continental from the World of John Wick. She is a police got that kind of idea, maybe perchance, is that KD goes into the Continental. Everybody keeps telling her not to go.
She's like, don't you do it.
Hotel, and she goes in and she tries to pay for a drink with American money and American currency, and everybody's looking at her like, what are you doing? And they're all kind of watching her because they all pay with the gold coins. So the gold coins, so she is obviously a stranger in the Continental, because you could see that she was paying with American currency and not the gold coins. So
and
the
not
gold
like
coin,
doubloons like everybody else. Like everybody normal.
so the gold coins are the currency of the underworld, of the criminal underworld. There's this organization called the High Table. I can't remember if they mentioned them in the
I don't
episode.
think so, but I could be wrong.
So the High Table in my mind is kind of like the Illuminati. They're like these people that control everything and kind of the shadows. And so the High Table are these people who set these rules. The adjudicator answers to the High Table. And we will talk about her because that's kind of the reason that we watched this show. But the gold coins are the currency of like the High Table and this underground world of hitman, hitman is that a plural for hitman? That feels weird to say hitman.
Hitman.
Hitman
sounds like somebody's last name. It's me, Morgan Hitman.
The plural of hitman, I guess, is hitmen. So maybe I'll say hitmen. Maybe
it's a murder of assassins, Rebecca.
So all of the hitmen. I feel like the way you go down on men
I do think
is how
very
it
important.
makes a difference in the pronunciation.
Men.
If you are a hitman in the John Wick universe, you pay for your meals, your hotel room, your guns. If you buy more guns, because they will give you guns at the Continental. You go see the sommelier of the hotel. Of the Continental, and he, instead of giving you wine, will give you guns. So that's how that works in the Continental and the John Wick movies.
So I've got a quick question, and this is a very stupid question. But prepare yourselves. So in the current timeline of the movies, is the Continental known to be where the hitmen hang out? Or like, do they occasionally have a tourist who accidentally like booked on like booking.com just come in really confused?
Okay, I feel like my StreamYard has frozen.
Looks like it, yeah.
Oh, man.
I thought it was mine that was having issues.
No, it's always mine. Recently, it's been mine. I'm going to pause on that question. I'm gonna restart my StreamYard and I'm gonna come back. If you will pop into the chat and maybe answer a few questions, I will be back, and then we will talk about the movie universe timeline and the current or the TV show timeline and how people utilize the Continental as a space. So I will be right back.
Sure.
Yes. Okay.
The fine establishment of the Continental, really well-rated hotel. It looks very swanky. So I'm going to go into the chat. So I see that Callie says, needs more Katie McGrath. That was my subheader, if you're a podcast listener, because it does need more Katie McGrath. She was in one single scene of this episode, and I think there should have been more scenes. So Mind the Gap says the John Wick movies are like self-aware action movies fully committed to the genre. So that does sound like something I would enjoy past the puppy death. And then Mind the Gap also says the director or writer of the movie said somewhere that the coins are like membership cards, not literal currency. But it sounds like they are trading them in for guns. So that sounds currency adjacent to me.
Okay, so this is a good point. To me, it always felt like a currency in terms of like, if you gave them a coin, they would give you something.
Okay, so it's like video game rules.
And John Wick had a lot of them. It wasn't just like a membership card that they would like hand in to get a hotel room. Like they would gather up coins as if it was like a bank account or something. So
I just
yeah,
like the idea of like Keanu Reeves coming with like a giant sack of coins and like slapping them down on the counter.
That's not that far
What?
off. I mean, he doesn't do that exactly, but he in the movies he has this place in his house that later gets blown up. That's a whole other thing.
Oh my God, he can't catch a break.
John Wick has had a hard life.
He really has.
But in his house, he had this like he would go into a basement and then he would like break this concrete part of his floor, and then he would go in there and he'd pull out all these guns, and then he'd have this whole case of those gold coins. So he was saving them for stuff. So it was something that he would use anytime he needed something. If he was going somewhere and he needed a new suit, he would, give them a gold coin or something like that. So
wait, so the coins are not just for like hotel amenities, like a little drinky drink or like the penthouse suite or like a bunch of guns. It's also like, I need a new suit here. Take my doubloon.
I'm pretty sure he gave somebody a coin so he could get a new suit.
That hotel is a full service establishment.
So you asked the question now that my Chrome is working.
I think a very important question, which is like, is John Wick and all the assassins, all the hitmen, if you will, are they just sort of milling around while like a family from South Dakota is like, oh my God, we're going to Times Square.
So only people who are in this criminal underworld with the gold coins can enter in and get a room.
Okay, because Katie walked right in there.
She was not supposed to, and her police officer boyfriend, I guess, told her not to go in there. So the police know that you're not supposed to go in there. The Continental is seen as a safe haven for all of these criminals, for these hitmen.
Interesting. Interesting.
So and there's a rule with the Continental. I don't know if they talked about it in this first episode, that you cannot, because this is a hotel full of hitmen, they cannot shoot each other while they are there.
They do talk about it in the first episode, because the one guy like basically points to the balcony as like, if you want your family to live, you're gonna jump. And the guy does jump. Now it seems so. Do they live at the Continental? Are they? One of my critiques when I was watching this episode is I said it feels like I'm watching a video game, and the deeper I get into the lore, the more like Mario it's starting to sound to me. Like they're just out there doing crimes to like collect gold coins so that they can like change them in for like a mushroom or something. Like I don't. Like I have to do the crimes because I need a new duvet cover.
So they do get paid money.
Okay. That was an important third aspect I think I needed to get to.
So there is a sequence in but that's a great question though. It's a good question because a lot of what they show is that they have the gold coins and they use it for everything.
Okay. But that makes me feel a little bit better.
But in the John Wick film franchise, if somebody puts a hit out on someone else, all the hitmen will get a notification like, "Hey, there's an open call for hitman for this case. So and so needs to get murdered. So if you're available and willing to try for it, you can get $7 million." They'll get like a notification on their phone.
I was gonna say, is it like a text blast? Do they like get like a Gossip Girl update?
Yes, sort of, yes.
XOXO, spotted.
Okay, this gets even better with the John Wick universe.
Okay.
The notifications are sent out by this like telephone operator group. So there are these people that are like old school telephone operators, one of which is the Penguin from Gotham on Fox.
Really?
Yes. Also, Ruby Rose is in this franchise.
What?
Just thought I would point. And she's a mute, by the way. So she didn't probably get paid very much because she didn't say anything.
Oh, there's unkind things I could say,
You
but
need to watch these movies. Close your eyes during all the violence.
Sounds.
But
I mean, it does
it's-
sound really. I want to know so much more. I mean, it's kind of amazing that they've set up this whole hitman society, where they're like. They have their like special. Could you imagine like the people who do the little operator system, like just like they get up in the morning, they're like, oh, off to work, and then they like patch like assassinations through.
That's exactly what they're doing.
That's wild.
They also have to, if the adjudicator comes in and sets a rule, they have to like get out their rule books and they put a stamp on something, and then it goes into effect. So
they have like a whole assassin society that has like rules of law and like, like decorum that you have to you have to abide by.
And they do abide by it.
Okay.
So the Continental, like I said, is a safe haven. So if you are on the premises of the Continental, nobody can harm you. So at some point, John Wick in one of the movies, he gets really beat up. He's like about to drop dead. He puts his hand on the first step of the hotel. He's safe. He's good.
Whoa.
Nobody can touch him. So the Continental is seen to them as like this place where they can go to and nothing will come of harm come to them. So they spend a lot of their time, I would imagine, at this place, and they all know each other. Yes.
And it's like, they all know each other. So it's kind of like the bar from Cheers.
It is. Everybody knows who John Wick is. He's very famous. And John Wick only had his house with his wife because he had quit that life of crime. He had gotten out.
He got out.
He wasn't doing it anymore. And then they killed his dog, and he was like,
and then they had to kill his dog.
It's
and he was
hitman life for me.
I'm right back in.
So yes, so that is kind of the idea behind the Continental, that they have rules and regulations, and that only really people in this underworld are allowed to be there. So that's why when KD goes in there, people are like, there's like basically a record scratch when she.
Yeah, it's like, it's like, who is this now? She paid with money, not doubloons.
Yes, but they do get paid. They will get paid if they
do get paid,
successfully
like
kill somebody.
So they don't have to like live at. That was kind of what I was getting to. Is like, do they have to live at this hotel because all they have is a bunch of gold coins? What do you think, Bunsen? Would you like some gold coins? Bunsen is here to weigh in. He watched the first episode of the Continental as well. To be fair, he napped through a lot of it, so he didn't get some of the finer plot points. And he was like, not enough cats.
Yeah, really, the world of John Wick is really dog heavy.
Dog heavy, no cats. He started to lose interest, is the thing.
So I guess let's kind of go through some more of these characters. I guess because Winston is like a really big deal in the show and in the film franchise, we didn't really talk about him too much.
No.
But what did you think about the Winston character?
I liked his character. I felt like obviously he's kind of the main character, at least it seems, in this miniseries. And I thought that we had like a pretty good introduction to him. You have some like mysteries. There's some backstory that you still have to learn about his family, like why he and his brother were in the police office in the first, scene of the pilot.
Right.
And, what apparently his brother took the fall for him for something. But what was it? And like, why did he take the fall for him? I'm sorry, Bunsen is moving my laptop just very slowly, very steadily, just rubbing against it, moving it a little bit where he wants it. So, but yeah, I liked Winston. It is interesting that he's like a character from the movie, because I could have definitely just bought that he was an original character.
It does make me think that something is going to happen to Cormac O'Connor.
It does seem that way.
Winston to take his place.
He doesn't seem like a great guy, is the thing.
And I guess since we're here, what did you think about Mel Gibson in this?
I did not know Mel Gibson was in this, and I went, oh. Not a big fan. Lots of obvious reasons why. He was fine though. He was doing like an accent, like a
He-
kind of a I don't
yeah.
know what the
like
accent
like a stereotypical gangster kind
like
of
like a
thing.
gangstery accent. I wasn't sure what region it was going for. But it was going. It wasn't. I mean, he wasn't bad or anything. I was just like, ugh, Mel Gibson.
So Cormac is apparently the father figure to Winston and Frankie, and sort of raised them in this sort of criminal life of the
Yeah.
Continental.
I got that, but like only sort of secondhand through like dialogue inferences, like the way that they were talking to each other. I feel like a little bit of backstory might have been a little bit more backstory might have been nice on these characters. It is episode 1, but there's only 3. So
And you had 90 minutes.
And it's 90 minutes, and I am a third of the way through this story now. So I feel like it would have been great to kind of just like get a little bit more flavor for that relationship, because I assumed that they knew each other somehow, and it did seem like, you know, both of the brothers knew him, but I was like, probably maybe they worked for him. Yeah, maybe he was a father figure, but I wasn't 100% sure, honestly.
Yeah, that it was difficult for me even to jump on with these characters because there were a lot of characters.
So many
introduced in this
characters.
episode. 2 of whom it took me a little while to kind of figure out who they were. Apparently, these characters are named Lou and Miles. They are brother and sister, and they own a karate dojo. And
Yeah, they do.
is Bunsen hanging out with
Bunsen
us?
has flopped now, and so Bunsen is just he's with us. He's blessed. He's blissed. He's loving it, unbothered. So I guess this is just kind of where he's completely flopped down on my desk. He's knocked some things over in his attempt to flip there, but
Yeah, he looks like he's having a good time.
he is having, yes, you are having a great time. You can kind of get some Bunsen in there, kind of move it over so that he can make a little appearance. There you go.
He's just here for the storytelling and the
He
discussion.
He's like again. I want to say not enough cats in this one. Not enough cats.
I think there should be a character in the John Wick universe who's just a real big cat person.
I agree. I feel like that's what this movie was. That's what the show is missing. That's what the movies are missing. Well, we got a lot of dog representation. That's great. Dogs get a lot of representation. What about the cats? What about these little cats?
What would you think if they introduced a bad guy in the John Wick universe who had cats?
I mean, I feel like Katie McGrath's character.
Ooh, yes.
She seemed a little crazy. I could go for like full crazy cat lady.
Yes, I think that actually could work. So the Adjudicator is in a John Wick Chapter 3, the 3rd movie in the franchise, and she is a real piece of work. So the Adjudicator essentially.
It seems like this is more of a title than a character, because
yes.
This series, which one of the cool things about the show, I think, is that it's a period piece. It takes place in like the 70s.
Yes.
And if Katie McGrath is the Adjudicator then, there's no way this lady on the right could be the Adjudicator now and not be the same lady. Unless we don't know if there's vampires in this universe.
I don't think they're the same lady. But there could be multiple adjudicators. So this could just be one of the adjudicators. So the adjudicator basically goes around. If somebody breaks a rule, she goes and addresses them and says, okay, you broke this rule. We're going to you. So she's basically a judge, jury, and executioner here. So she will have somebody implement the consequence to the person in front of her. So the adjudicator, wow, she is mean and nasty. And you do if the adjudicator is coming, you do not want to be in the building because you're not even really safe from her in the Continental. So
yeah. So she's like the law of the hitman.
Yes, she is the hitman law. She is the hitman judge. So what did you think about Katie McGrath's performance as the adjudicator?
Well, that one scene was great. Let's go ahead and say it now. That one scene, fantastic, life-changing. No, she got like, I think 5 minutes would be a generous screen time.
That would be generous.
It was more like 2 minutes of screen time, and it was mostly they were just like torturing a guy because he was in on the plot to get that coin press that everybody is like so obsessed with. And she's like, "You don't understand. You did all this for $40,000." And I was like, first off, Katie McGrath, $40,000 in 1970s money, which
do you have
established-
do you have the calculator?
You know I always do.
What does the inflation calculator say?
The inflation calculator says, so let's say what do we think it was, like 1975 or something?
Sure, let's go with
Let's go with that. Okay, so $40,000 would have been about $228,000 now.
Okay,
So,
that's a lot.
You know, nothing to scoff at, Katie. But she's like, what you had was priceless. And then I was like, the coin machine? So I feel like
Coins are important in the universe, Morgan.
I think that is kind of, so I'm so happy to learn that the coin thing is like a movie reference, that like they assumed that the audience who was excited to join, to dive deeper into the world of John Wick, like they assumed that the audience would be like, yes, I know why these coins are important. Yes, I know why people would care so much about these coins. Where I'm like, I mean, they're coin, like make your own coins, like create a new mint, like get out there, it's fine. But yeah, so she's basically just like, you didn't know what you had. And then she tells the guy to kill him, and that's her whole scene. She's got like a weird mask on, but it's only on like the bottom part of her face. So like the top part of her face is Katie McGrath, and you're like, yes, beautiful. And then the bottom part of her face is like a creepy China doll mask, and you're like, ooh, don't like it. So I am interested to find out this now, based on the two character posters. This doesn't seem like an attribute of the adjudicator. It doesn't seem like when you become the adjudicator, they're like, okay, now the bottom of your face is going to get real weird. And that's just part of the role. Because this lady has just her whole face, no mask.
Yes, that is different. So in the movies, the adjudicator does not have the thing hanging on the bottom of her face. That has not been explained yet in episode 1. Maybe it will be explained in episodes 2 and 3. I have not personally watched them as of yet. So maybe that is going to be explained, but it's definitely a choice here in the TV show that it's weirdly there for no reason that we can tell as of yet.
Yeah, I mean, visually, it's really cool looking. I will give it like, it's creepy, but it is cool. You're like, oh, that's like a striking character design. But yeah, there was no explanation for it. And I kind of thought like, oh, okay, she's the adjudicator, that she's got that weird mask. Like that must be all the adjudicators have that weird mask. So to learn that is just for this show is kind of wild.
Yeah, there must be a backstory for her of some horrible thing that has messed up her face.
Yes.
she has some sort of face disfigurement, I guess. But yeah, she is different there. So we do see Katie McGrath's character, the adjudicator, implementing a punishment and going to somebody who has done something wrong in the underworld. So I felt like that was a pretty good prequel, or even kind of in some way like a follow-up to the adjudicator in John Wick 3. So I felt like that was somewhat similar. But the one in the movies is incredibly nasty. The stuff they do to Lawrence Fishburne is rough.
Oh no. So does the adjudicator only show up in the third movie?
I believe so, if I remember correctly. So like,
you watched them all pretty fast.
I did. They all sort of blended together. But if I remember correctly, it's like John Wick avenging his puppy, movie 1. Movie 2 is Ruby Rose and this guy wanting John Wick to kill his sister. And then movie 3 is like Halle Berry, adjudicator, the world hunting down John Wick. That's kind of how I would summarize it without getting too spoilery.
In the comments, Aaron does have a spoiler for the show. Now, it's not a heavy spoiler, but I wasn't sure how spoilery we wanted to get in this pilot.
So I guess everybody knows it's a spoiler. So I guess let's just make that announcement. If you don't want to hear, just kind of shut your ears for like
Just
30
skip
seconds,
ahead like
to
a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess we could talk about it because we are talking about the world of John Wick.
The world, the
So-
overall world of John
So
Wick.
I guess we could talk about it.
So Erin says, spoilers, they don't explain why she has a mask in the series,
What?
but the reason was released after the series aired.
Oh, that is
So
poor form.
I just wanted to kind of put that out there because I thought that was very funny and I wanted to read it. So they introduce this character with a mystery on her face. They decide that is not necessary to explain.
Now, if they maybe had like a season 2, I would be okay with that. You know,
Yeah.
Like lengthen the mystery a little bit, sort of draw it out, make us really want it. But if they've already spoiled it after the show like finished in the 3rd episode, what's the point?
Yeah, it seems like they're
okay.
not going to dive back into that. So
I don't like that at all.
I don't like that. No.
I think that is a bad choice, writing wise. I think you have to explain that. She shows up in this weird face mask, and then they never explain it.
If you have a character just show up looking like Phantom of the Opera, you're just not going to address it.
I feel like you have time. You can touch upon it. So that is strange.
Mind the Gap in the comments says they are going to make a spin-off called The Ballerina. So I think they hope the World of John Wick is the spin-off branding.
I love it. I mean, now I'm a
Let's
big
just
John
dive
Wick
on
fan.
in.
I mean, I'm really bought into the world of John Wick now, so I might as well just keep watching it. I'm invested at this point. And so that people who have not watched the John Wick movies, the ballerina is a reference to Angelica Houston's character, who is called the director, and she's like a theater lady, and she has ballerinas on stage with her in one of the movies, maybe John Wick 3.
Now I have a great question.
Yes,
Are the ballerinas hitmen?
probably. Because they have this school where these young boys are like wrestling and learning how to fight, and I assume the ballerinas also have some sort of like skills.
Interesting.
Yeah. I they don't. I don't think they show a ballerina killing someone, but I just got that vibe. They all had like tattoos, like John Wick did.
Interesting.
So I felt like they had a John Wick connection.
Very, very Black Widow-esque to have like the ballerinas be secretly assassins.
Yes. And the director, Angelica Houston's character, is also somebody who serves the high table is what they're called. I almost said high council. It's the high table.
So the high table, those are like the big wigs of the assassin universe of the world of John Wick.
Yes. So the ballerina thing is connected to her character. So I think that could maybe delve into how assassins get trained, possibly. That's my theory. I don't know.
That could be good. I feel like I'd watch that. I might watch that. How long is it? Is going to be my first question, and then I'll decide if I'm going to watch it.
Yeah. So I think maybe we could make this a thing where we just kind of dive into the world of John Wick every now and then.
We just every now and then dip into the world of John Wick. What if the ballerina show has a cast member from Supergirl, and like every additional John Wick show just has like a new cast member? Come on, Kyler, let's get in there.
Kyler could do it.
Kyler could do it.
She'd be great on the ballerina. I think that would be awesome. I was trying to think of who else could be on there, but I mean, I think Kyler's a good choice. Yeah, she could be training those ballerinas how to kill somebody.
Exactly. We already know she can kill with she can save herself with her pants.
Yeah,
she is really good with that alien gun. I think she's ready.
She's got the skills. I think
she's got the skills.
I think she can do it. Bringing it back to the pilot, though, of this TV series, speaking of some people who killed some folks, let's talk about two of my new favorite John Wick characters, Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah. Yes. If this picture doesn't say it all, I truly don't know what. So these are the twin characters They both have blunt bang. It's a man and a woman. They both have blunt bangs and like long black hair. It is a truly frightening look with when two people have that exact haircut. It's like not a look that you see on men that often. And they're both like very pale too. They definitely look like horror movie characters. And you just know that they're into some weird stuff. Yeah, for sure. When they go to get them involved in the action, she's just like casually like sponging blood off of her. Not her own, for
No,
sure.
probably not. Yeah, so these characters are called to assassinate Frankie Scott and trying to get the coin press back. So they are sent by Cormac O'Connor, played by Mel Gibson, to go do that. He actually refers to them as the weirdos. So they're definitely pretty weird. But the lady of the twins, she's a pretty good shot with that gun. So she ends up shooting Frankie, and he does die. So R.I.P. Frankie Scott. You only lasted one episode in the
We barely knew
world
you.
of John Wick. Most people don't last very long in the world of John Wick anyway. So I guess that's par for the course here. So I think that kind of touches upon most of the characters that we needed to talk about. So and I guess we also talked about sort of the world and the story that it was telling. So Morgan, are there any other thoughts that you have about the Continental? I guess the thing I would ask you to answer for me, because I'm curious. We talked about the ballerina in case the ballerina comes out and we want to watch it. But as far as the Continental from the world of John Wick, would you keep watching? Because there's only 2 other episodes.
So there are only 2 other episodes. That is true. But they are very long. They are very long episodes at an hour and a half. Oh boy. I don't know. Mike was liking it, so I might just stick in there so he knows how it ends. I'm always making him watch these pilots for these shows, and then he's like, okay, episode 2, and I'm like, no, I'm done. Feels a little cruel. I feel like it was a well done show. Like the production values were really good. I had some issues with some of the action sequences, really feeling like I was watching like a cutscene from a video game. But the action was really good. Like some of the car chase scenes were good. I like the time period. I love like the sort of the 70s fashion and like the 70s flair of things. And some of the characters seemed like they could be interesting. I think my biggest issue with the pilot is that for me, somebody who is not well immersed in the world of John Wick, these characters did not feel developed enough for me to like really be like, I want to know what happens next with Winston, not because I know him as an older man from the current movies, but because I care about this character right now. And instead I was just like, oh man, that sucks for Winston. Like there was like some of the characters that were like a little bit more lighthearted. I like the characters who ran the dojo. I wanted to kind of learn more about
Lou and
them.
Miles.
Yeah, Lou and Miles. I really liked Lou. I really wanted to know more about her character and his character and like what the dojo meant to them and why they have just like an arms dealership underneath of the dojo and like it felt like this 90-minute episode 1 introduced so many characters, but it didn't spend that, for being 90 minutes, it didn't spend that much time with all of those characters for me to like be like, okay, I'm really invested in what happens to this character. I'm really invested in what happens to Yen, or I'm really invested in what happens to KD and whether or not she can ever figure out the monetary system of the Continental. I was like, okay, I think some of these characters are intriguing and I think they could be fun, but they're not that fun right now. And I think that was sort of the issue for me. It was also like the violence level in the show, which I knew kind of going in was going to be bad, but it was pretty violent. So I was just like, oh no, oh God. And so I was like constantly underneath the blanket, like peering out from one side, like, are they done killing that man yet? So I just feel like if they had shortened down some of those action sequences a little bit and added in more character development, that might have been better. Because I do feel like you could maybe see the preview for it and say, oh, that looks cool, and then wonder, hey, well, I haven't watched any of the John Wick movies, like, can I watch this? And I feel like it should stand alone, and for the most part I would say it kind of does. But I think that the ways that it doesn't stand alone is that, like, it expects you to care about these characters coming in instead of making you care about these characters. And I'm putting a lot of emphasis on episode 1 only because it's 90 minutes. Like, they that's like 3 or 4 regular length episodes for most TV shows, and most TV shows have gotten you to care about the characters by like episode 3.
Yeah, it's interesting about those 90-minute episodes. I kind of wonder if they wrote this like they were writing a trilogy of films, and then they just said, "Oh, well, let's just break it up into 3 parts and make it a TV series." Like,
It does
I sort of
kind of
wondered
feel
if
that
they
way.
did that. Yeah, I think that is an astute observation. I did wonder if people who had not watched the movies and binged them like I did over the course of 2 days, if someone had not seen them, would they be lost? So I think that's a really good perspective to share. As someone who even watched the movies, I did struggle with kind of keeping up with who the characters were, and even knowing their names was difficult sometimes.
It's a small criticism, but they did not say the characters' names enough. They
Yeah.
said like Winston and Frankie. I was like, got them. They're
Yes.
in the vault.
Yeah.
And like Yen, they said. But some of the, like, when we were talking about the characters who had the dojo, Lou and Miles, I think.
Yes.
They did not say those names enough. I was like, the dojo characters. I'm not like necessarily good with names, but like I try usually, and I'm like, I have no idea what these characters are named at all. Like, I like them, but yeah, I think that they could have made it like a little bit easier to follow all of the characters, and get a little bit more invested in this episode.
Yeah, Sharon, they said a lot, which is good.
Yeah.
Sharon got name checked quite a bit. KD, I didn't know until I was looking at the John Wick.
Oh, yeah.
wiki.
I was about to say, when you said like when I was like, is Katie someone? I thought that was a completely different character. You're like, oh, it's the police lady. Oh, yeah, no, never mind.
And then Hansel and Gretel, I thought was just like a nickname that he was calling them, but that
Yeah.
apparently, according to the wiki, it's like those are their names.
That's their names, which
Yes.
is fantastic.
Yeah,
No
So-
notes for Hansel and Gretel. They were doing the most. I appreciated it.
they really made an impact in the episode for me. So I think they were stealing the show towards the end of it. I do think that it could have done better at establishing who the characters were and making you want to care about them. But I guess, to be fair, the John Wick movies have a hard time of doing that too. like John Wick really well because you're following John Wick every second of the movies. But some of these other characters, it kind of takes a little while to kind of get to know them and like who the people are and their relationships to each other. And then it's like, oh, Halle Berry's here. Who's she? What is her deal? And so it's like it's hard to kind of get to know people because they might die 10 minutes later. So it's
So maybe it doesn't matter.
so it's just something where I think that's kind of how this universe goes. Not to say that you can't do that better in TV format. That's definitely something that you can improve upon. But I did think the sets and the aesthetics of the John Wick universe were present in this TV show. They I don't know if they used the same sets or they like rebuilt everything. But the hallway going into the front desk, all of that just was very familiar to me. So as someone who had watched the movies, I could kind of jump in and go, yeah, like this is the Continental. I know this place. So that I thought they did a really good job with the sets and the looks. And I thought the opening title sequence was amazing.
Really cool.
Yeah, the animation of that I thought was very good, and ending on that little statue that was flipping the bird.
Yes.
Which you don't find out what that is until at the end of episode 1. I thought was a really good thing to sneak in there because when I first watched it, I was like, what is this? So that ends up being the thing that's inside the coin press box that I guess Frankie had taken whatever was in the coin press box and had removed it and put that little statue in. Is that kind of what you got?
So this was a critique I had that like I didn't understand. Again, spoilers for episode 1. But I didn't understand why, if he took the coin press, whatever was in the coin press I assume, out and put this like little statue in, why he would then sacrifice himself to save them, because the whole organization is going to open it up, see that little statue, flipping them off, and then go right back to trying to kill them. Like, he maybe saved them for the night, but he didn't save them like overall. So I feel like if in that scenario, I'd just be like, you know what? We're already in the air. We're pretty close to being out of this.
Also, the helicopter pilot got shot. I thought for sure that
bad.
helicopter was going down.
But he was like, you know what, guys, I got this. He did like doing the like one arm thing, just driving it.
I thought Frankie was going to have to fly the helicopter because they talked about how he had been in the war. So I was like, oh, well, maybe he has helicopter experience. No, he jumped out.
That's what I thought too. That's what I thought was going to happen.
So I hope the helicopter lasts. Like, I hope they land in episode 2 and they're okay. And they touch ground. I think probably Frankie knew that no matter what, they were going to kill him. And so I guess this was his way of sacrificing for them and doing what he considered to be the right thing. But to your point, like, they could have just kept going and they would have just had to, I guess, run away for another day or 2. So
yeah,
I don't know.
It's like it feels like they only really stopped them from going after them for like the evening, because they're gonna see that the coin press isn't in there and be like, well, back to killing. So as a noble sacrifice, it worked sort of medium for me, because I was like, wait, when they opened it up, I was like, oh, but it's not in there. So Mike thought like, oh, maybe he didn't know that it was just the statue in there.
Maybe
like somebody else switched it out or something. Who knows? We'll find out, I guess, in episode 2.
Or maybe not, because we don't know why the adjudicator is wearing that mask.
Or maybe we'll never know.
None of our questions are going to be answered. I will, before I wrap up with my thoughts, I thought I'd pop in here with the chat here. Aaron says the soundtrack is pretty good, very 70s. Yeah, they did a really good job with all the 70s stuff in there, even to the point of putting the World Trade Towers back in those exterior shots.
I didn't notice that.
Oh, yeah.
Wild.
They did that several times where they had like an exterior, like a wide cityscape shot of New York City, and had the 2 twin towers in there, which would have existed in the 1970s. Let's see. And then Aaron also says, I only saw the first movie. It was on the background, and I was able to make it through the 3 episodes without being too confused. So that's good. If you just dipped your toe into the world of John Wick, you'd probably be okay with his TV show.
Yeah, I do think that like they did pretty successfully create a show that you can just, if you haven't seen any John Wick movies, you can like I did, but for science, you could really dive in and just be like, okay, and it is a complete story. I feel like what it's missing is some of like the character shadings and some of the characterization and the character work, because they're kind of like relying on you knowing that character from a previous property. But as a story, you can just like dive in, and I don't feel like you're super confused. You're like, okay, yeah, this is. I mean, I was confused about the monetary system of the Hitman, but I feel like for most normal people, that's not going to be too huge of a concern for them. They're not going to hyper fixate on it. Like I was like, well, why do they need these coins?
It's a good question, honestly. Aaron also says they altered the title sequence each episode to foreshadow a thing or two in each episode.
Ooh.
So that'll be something to look forward to, because I will probably keep watching this show.
I mean, I feel like I'm kind of in it now. After an hour and a half, I feel like you're definitely in it. You know what I also thought was really funny is that if I watch this show, The Continental, from the World of John Wick, and then I continue to watch all the John Wick movies, I will have watched them in like chronological order. I will have experienced them timeline order.
Ooh, I think that actually would be a flip for me. So I think that would actually be a cool way to watch it. Now, I will say, I really think you would like the John Wick movies because they're over the top and ridiculous. And they have these weird like things about them that I'm just like, this is so ludicrous, but it's kind of fun. So I think you would enjoy the hyper reality that these people exist in, that it's just so it's almost like the people in the real world, if they exist. I don't know. I think everybody in the world is a hitman. So
Oh my gosh.
I don't think there are like real people in the John Wick world. It's just everybody is gonna kill you.
It's just all hitmen.
So I wonder if that's like also, now that I think about it, like a metaphor for 1970s New York City, because there was a lot of crime.
Ooh, that's true. That's true.
Like everybody could just be doing crimes all the time. Anyway,
they are in the John Wick universe.
I don't think they're real people, because they just like somebody got killed one time in one of those movies in like a public train station, and nobody said anything. Everybody just kept walking. I was like, did they not notice? There's like a dead body with blood all over.
Oh
the
my
floor.
God, it does make more sense now that I got to the end of the first episode, because halfway through the first episode, when he made that guy jump, I was like, isn't that gonna like trigger a whole police investigation? Isn't your whole situation here to be like in under the radar? And now that I know that like everybody just kind of knows that's where the assassins hang out and they're chill with it, like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I guess they just like occasionally clean up a dead body outside of that hotel.
So that's actually a good point, because that is something that sort of happens in the first John Wick movie, when all that stuff happens and the dog gets murdered. Like John Wick's house is just destroyed. Everything is just like a wreck. This is before it gets blown up, or is it after? Anyway, his house is like mangled, dead bodies everywhere, just a horrible, like the crime scene is just disgusting. And a local, I think, police officer comes to his front door. And instead of like having a gun to like want to shoot the local police officer, he opens up the door. The police officer is like, John, you working again? And so like the police know he's an assassin. The local fire department, after his house blows up, comes to his house to put out the fire. And they're like, so are you working again? So like everybody knows he's an assassin. Yeah.
That's
everyone
so funny.
knows. So I guess people know and don't care.
I guess that has to be what the situation is. They're just okay with it. Everybody just kind of bought into the world of John Wick.
Everyone is going to kill you for money, and it's fine. It's just one of those things. So yeah,
you have to collect enough coins, and then you get a star, and then you're so powerful.
I really think you would enjoy the movies. They are
I think I would too.
They're bonkers and really over the top, but I think they're actually pretty entertaining. So anyway, so I think I will keep watching this show just to see what happens and how it ties into the world.
I also want to see more than 5 minutes of Katie McGrath. I feel like I was sort of promised a bill of goods and like cheat it. They're like, Katie, and she was all over the promotional material too.
Oh yeah,
like her like creepy face with the thing, and I was like, oh, I love this for Katie. And then I watched the first episode. She's in it for 2 minutes, so I guess I have to continue. Maybe that was their plan. They were like,
yeah, they're gonna hook you,
just a little sprinkle of Katie in this one.
Yeah. So if they get you for Katie, you'll stay for Katie. So I think that probably was the intention. So I'm glad you were able to have a first experience into the world of John Wick, and hopefully you'll get to continue that as we go along, because I'll check in with you and see how you like the second episode, because I'll be your accountability person to see if you actually followed up with it. But I guess that's gonna do it for our conversation, our little pilot pod here on the Continental from the world of John Wick. And so that's going to wrap up our discussion. So now we need to get to some Supergirl Radio and some DCTV podcast blogs. If you would like to contact Supergirl Radio, you can post a comment on our website at supergirlradio.com. You can email us at supergirlradio@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, you can call us at 678-718-7252. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, all at Supergirl Radio. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Podchaser, and Spotify, where we also have a Spotify playlist that includes music featured on and inspired by the CW Supergirl TV series. We are listed on DC's fan page, which you can find at dccomics.com/DC-fans. If you like what we do, we encourage you to give us a rating and write us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you enjoy our Supergirl Radio live streams, make sure to subscribe to the DC TV Podcast YouTube channel and hit that notification bell to get notified when we go live and wired. DC TV Podcast also has a TeePublic store, so if you're in need of new DC TV related t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, onesies, mugs, notebooks, pillows, or stickers, go to supergirlradio.com and click on the TeePublic store link at the top of the page.
Now see here, Supergirl Radio is part of the DC TV Podcast Network. So if you want to listen to other shows, we've got The Flash Podcast, Legends of Tomorrow Podcast, The Lituation Room, DC on HBO Max Podcast, Stargirl Podcast, Superman and Lois Radio, Green Lantern Podcast, The Sandman Podcast, DC TV After Dark, and Justice League Dark Podcast.
And Morgan, do you want to tell the viewing and listening audience about the TeePublic store?
I would love to. Since we watched the Continental, we have some Katie McGrath designs in the DC TV Podcast TeePublic store that we would love to suggest.
Yeah, we don't have any adjudicator designs, but we do have Lena Luthor designs. So if you want some Lena Luthor merch, go to the DC TV Podcast TeePublic store, and we've got some designs for you to check out. And I guess I'll do it after we talk about the Legion of Super Sponsors. So we do have a Patreon if people would like to support it. We have what we call the Legion of Super Sponsors. So if you would like to support the Supergirl Radio Patreon, you can become a Legion of Super Sponsors. These people are Michael, Anne Marie, Yvonne, Quinn, Nicola, Abby, Miriam, Nicole, Brian, Ethan, Danny, Majuba, and Lincolnberry. And if you would like to become a Legion of Super Sponsor, you can go to patreon.com/Supergirl Radio. And I did want to get to one comment before we leave, because I think this is a question we really should answer, because this could get us in trouble if we don't answer it. Mind the Gap asks, both Rebecca and Morgan are assassins. I just want to make it very clear.
In the world of John Wick, we would be.
I just want to make it very clear. Not in the real world, we are not.
No.
Possibly if we were in the world of John Wick, odds are pretty good.
Odds are high if we're in the world of John.
Statistically very high.
There's other people besides assassins, but not many.
Not many.
Just not many. No.
Like a couple of cops, and that's kind of it.
What if I just pulled out a gold doubloon, just quietly showed it on camera, put it away? Not me.
So, no, we are not assassins. Just wanted to clear the air there in case people are curious about the answer to that question. Well, if you would like to follow up with me and catch me and what I'm doing on the internet, you can follow me on Instagram at the Derby Kid. I'm also on the social media platform Vero at Derby Kid over there. And if you were on Vero, you would know that Rebecca Johnson has recently watched John Wick, John Wick 2, John Wick 3, and the pilot episode of the Continental. So that's the cool thing about Vero, is that you can share what you've been watching. And so people who follow me on Vero know they probably were not surprised to find out that Supergirl Radio was talking about the world of John Wick, because they saw that I was watching the entire John Wick series.
You got deep into the canon of John Wick.
I really needed to do the background research on that. I also have a YouTube channel that you can check out at youtube.com/duckmilkprod. hopefully gonna try to do some new content regarding Rebel Moon and some other things over there. I also have a travel blog that I need to restart with my brother called Oasis Broom. So you can find Oasis Broom on all of the social media platforms and on YouTube. So if you want to check out our travels, you can do that over there.
I just wanted to pull up this one comment before I plug, which
Okay.
is Rachel said, one of either Rebecca or Morgan probably goes by Fleur de Lis in the world of John Wick.
Okay, if you were an assassin and
That's
you needed
Incredible name. An incredible assassin name.
we should get together with Anna and write like a story, like a maybe a comic book. We could get together with Kat and do like a Kickstarter and be
There
like,
we go.
like build a what she could Fleur de Lis could be like the female John Wick.
Yes, I love this. Anna, call us.
We could get a
We got
Fleur de Lis.
all kinds of stuff cooking, you guys.
I think it's very possible we could get a Fleur de Lis comic book created.
We could get that. We could get that to happen. The people demand it.
I feel like we know people who could make a Fleur de Lis comic book happen for us.
Write us in. Let us know. Do you want to see it? You can find me on the internet, Twitter and Instagram at Mojotastic. You can also find me as a co-host on the Legendary Ladies podcast. You can find us on Twitter at _underscore podcast, on YouTube at the Legendary Ladies, on Instagram at the Legendary Ladies, on Patreon at the Legendary Ladies, where if you support us, you can see episodes early, you can talk in the chat. And I believe this week we are going to be covering the new Netflix movie May December, which I have been seeing is getting a lot of buzz, but I have not seen it yet. So we will be talking about what we thought of that movie. I always like to leave my viewing to the last possible moment.
Netflix has actually been putting out some interesting stuff here lately. There's apparently some new Julia Roberts like disaster movie.
Really?
And I was like, what is this?
I feel like Netflix is like really good at throwing money into like a fire pit, but then like really bad at promoting the movies that they then spent like millions of dollars making. It'll just kind of pop up on my screen. I'll go, oh, hey, I didn't know Julia Roberts was in a new movie. And that will be the extent of my knowledge of that movie.
Also, how does Netflix make money? Is it just subscriptions?
I don't know.
Do they have a high table who's like
I think they do.
Do they make money in gold coins?
They make their own money. They're making their own doubloons. They're like, don't worry,
They have a coin
guys.
press.
Could you imagine them just like paying Julia Roberts in like just a big bag of coins, like she's Uncle Scrooge from like the Ducks, like DuckTales?
Do you think it's possible? I just now have this thought. Do you think there is a real world Continental? Do you think there's like a hotel in the world where
That's
like
just
if you go, it's like
where
all
the
assassins
are?
I think it's possible.
It
I'm gonna
could
lean
be
on that
possible.
conspiracy theory.
It could be possible. I think that like it's more likely that the assassin hotel is just like a regular hotel. So there's like literally just like a family checking in from like North Dakota, and they're like, "Oh my god, I can't wait to go to the M&M store." And then over in the corner are like the assassins drinking, and they're like, silly families, and then they like slide their doubloon across the counter.
We should keep track of what Julia Roberts is doing. Maybe she's getting gold coins from Netflix. We need to check out what
can we be sure that Julia Roberts herself is not a hitman? allegedly.
We've never seen her and a possible hitman in the same room together.
That is true. That's all. All I'm saying. What if Julia Roberts shows up in like the next like John Wick movie? Like we put it out into the universe.
She's like starring as a female assassin in a movie.
Yeah, like
I would watch that.
I would watch that. That would be
awesome. Yeah. So in my conspiracy mind, there probably is like an underground
somewhere.
hotel,
Yeah,
just assassins. I feel like that probably exists somewhere. Very exciting about new Legendary Ladies content. Also, Fisk season 2 is out on Netflix. Just want to put that out there. Great show. If you've never watched Fisk, have you never watched Fisk?
Wait, I'm not sure if I've heard of this.
So it was one of those things that popped up on my Netflix over the weekend. I was like, oh, Fisk season 2. They didn't advertise it, but now I see that it's there. It's a like an Australian show about this woman who's like a lawyer for like estate plan, like family estate planning. It's so funny.
That looks I am such a sucker for like foreign comedies, or especially like the British ones, and like this, you said Australian, so I'm like, oh, that's gonna be fun little accents. So I'm gonna put this on my list because I really feel like I need like a nice little like comedy right now, and this seems delightful.
Morgan, it's so good. I really think you'll like it. It's such a boring like concept, like a family estate planning.
It really is.
But the characters in that show are so funny in the way they interact together, and the lady who plays Fisk, the main character, she's so good. So I just want to put that out there to
I'm
everybody.
putting it on my list.
Yeah.
After I catch up with John Wick.
After you watch all the John Wick movies, you're gonna want a palate cleanser, and you can just go right over to Fisk.
Perfect.
You've got 2 seasons waiting for you.
I got my holiday viewing all queued up now.
There may be some Christmas stuff in one of the John Wick movies.
Really?
So I mean, it's like a perfect holiday movie, I think.
I think so too. Speaking of holiday movies, should we mention that our Patreon supporters?
We should mention that. So if you are a boardroom boss on the Supergirl Radio Patreon, there should be a poll up now. You might have already gotten a notification for it if you are a boardroom boss, that you can help us pick which Christmas movie we are going to review next week. So if you're listening to this, go to the Supergirl Radio Patreon, vote in the poll of which movie. We've given you 4 choices. And so if you will give us your pick, we will review that movie.
Some might say this is a very important task that we've given you. Very, very important task.
They are all titles that have a Supergirl TV actor or actress in it. So that is our tie to it. So we will be reviewing a Christmas holiday movie starring one of those people. So it's either a Kyler Lee movie, a Laura Vandervoort movie, a Terry Hatcher movie, or a Brandon Routh movie featuring kittens. So I don't want that to sway you at all in your choice.
Sway you, but what if somehow what wins is just buttons again as like a write-in? We want more buttons.
Just years later, do we see it the same? Has anything changed?
Buttons.
Ooh. Maybe somebody needs to expand the buttons universe. I feel like it already kind of did at the end of it.
I feel like
wasn't there like another generation of buttons that happened at the end?
Like our buttons episode is like one of the hardest I've ever laughed.
That movie made no sense.
So much happening in that movie.
It is one of our finest episodes. So if you've not listened to or watched our stream on...
You're trying to get into the holiday spirit. Can we suggest buttons?
We're not really sure if it's Buttons A Christmas Tale or they have like 3 titles. So we just call it Buttons because we're really not sure which one is correct. So you definitely should check out our episode on the Katie McGrath Christmas movie Buttons, the one of 2 Katie McGrath Christmas movies that we've reviewed, the other being A Princess for Christmas, which
listen, if Katie does another one, we'll be there.
Oh my gosh. If we could, we would do an entire podcast on Katie McGrath Christmas movies.
They're all so good.
What if she became we have like gone down a tangent. We're so far from
away
where we
now.
But you know how Candace Cameron Bure, I guess is her full name. She's
Yeah.
like the queen of like Hallmark movies and like has her own like network now, I guess, of just like Christmas movies.
Just Christmas. Yes.
I wish that was like a Katie McGrath thing where she just like
Yes.
all she did was Christmas movies and they were like really cheesy and didn't make any sense.
And yet somehow she manages to do like 10 of them a year, and you're
Oh
like,
my gosh.
Katie, how? What? But how do you have the time? She's like, oh, we do it in one day.
Okay, here's my pitch. Katie McGrath Christmas movies by the minute.
Yes. Because listen, they're a rich text, right?
All layered, very layered.
Very layered. Could you imagine having to do that rap in A Princess for Christmas by the minute?
Line by line, just
As we start to
dissecting
break,
everywhere.
we have a break with reality.
I'm just saying she makes a couple more of those movies and we're going to start a series on it. Just Katie McGrath Christmas movies by the minute. That's going to be
Our
podcast
promise
in
to
the
you.
future. Yes. Or a threat to you
Or-
if that's the way you want to
That's
see it.
also true. It's both.
She should make more Christmas movies. I'm sorry, we've already run out of them. Well, I guess that gets us to the end of the podcast episode here. So that is going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. But until next time, I'm still Rebecca Johnson. I had to think about it for a second.
Are you sure? Are you sure? Or are you an assassin?
I'm a hitman. One of the hitmen.
You're a hitman. And I'm still Morgan Glennon. Wink. Now I just pull out my doubloon. And we're glad to see Katie McGrath in a new TV series.
McGurk! I love
Not mess
typing.
with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because
She looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. It's so fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Yeah.